Yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's class. Tonight marks our first engagement or encounter officially, apart from the onboarding process that we had earlier. So tonight we're going to start our project, data analytics project with Excel. So tonight we're going to start with Excel. Like we said, we always start from what we know, then we use what we know, and we can always use that to define or explain the unknown. So we start from the knowns to unknowns. So tonight we're going to start. So how do we launch our Excel format? I assume we all have Excel on our laptop, on our machine. So we just come to this place, and I think I just assume many of us don't know how to use Excel, and that's why I'm starting from scratch, right? So if I run this, and of course, it will run perfectly well. And these are the things I'm going to show. I'm sure you can see my screen perfectly well. With all this now, I think we can start off whatever thing you really want to start off. So once you have this particular page, which is the, will I say, welcome page, yours might be welcome. Yours might not have all these things if you've not been using Excel for a very long time, right? But if you have all this, fine, it's cool. The only thing I just want us to quickly inspect here is simple. We have from the left side of your pane, we have Excel, the home, the new, the open. All these ones, we are still going to see them when we enter the real file, Excel file itself. But another thing I really want to show us here is there are three things here that you can see. Yours might be two, but don't worry, it's no biggie. So we have the account. What account gives you, tells you about your system you are using, right? It tells you about what type of Microsoft are you using, right? And is your Microsoft registered? So you can see mine to be a registered one, right? And I registered my email. I have an email address that has been registered with it. So basically, I'm connected with my OneDrive account on the internet. So anything I do locally will be automatically transferred to my file on the, just like the way Google Docs does. We have Google Sheets, we have Google Doc, right? But this one now has two things. I can work locally, right? At the same time, see whatever I'm doing on the internet. I think Google has also done something like that. You can download your Google Doc online. So I think, yeah, Doc, I think it's Doc online, Google Doc online, offline. You can type whatever you want to type. So once the internet is ready, you automatically download or synchronize into the server base. And that is that as regards that. Secondly, if your own office is not updated or is not activated, you can always come here and activate it, right? By buying the license key or by imputing the license key you already have, right? So that is that as regards that. So the second one is this option thinking. This option is very, very important. This option shows how your system looks like. If you really want to change anything about your Excel, you change whatever you really want to change, there is going to be from the option. However, there are so many things we can get to do in that particular area. So let's go back there, and this is it. You can see, right? So let me click and create a new workbook. So basically, we're working with a new workbook. So we're going to click on this blank workbook. I'm sure you can see my screen very well, right? Now, if you want me to increase the size, I can increase it. Maybe that will also help.
Oh, this one Steph Curry.
Is it bigger now?
I don't miss because I am Steph Curry.
Yeah.
How much it call?
Okay, so let's see. Let's start from where we start. So, basically, the objective of this particular session is for us to establish a very strong understanding about Excel. I want to assume we don't know it. We've not. This is our first time interfacing with Excel. We should have a very strong understanding with this Excel interface, data structuring, and the like. So, basically, we will see everything that we really want to work with, right? So, what is Excel? Like I said, Excel is developed by Microsoft. We don't need to do all those things. And it is being used for quick computation. It is being used for data cleaning and transformation. It is being used for dashboard creation or chart creation. At the same time, for connecting some external database. Yes, we can use Excel to connect with some databases. For example, In the cloud, we can use Excel to collect database or data from the cloud, and it will bring those data here right on this particular place. Do you understand? So all these things we can use Excel to do very well. So let's see how it goes. So first of all, I'm going to introduce us to all these places. We have like 5 sections here. The first section is the ribbon section. The ribbon section are the ones we have from home, insert. We have yours might not have draw. If you are using maybe a Microsoft Office 2016, yeah, and even 2019 might not have draw. I don't know, but 2016 I'm sure doesn't have draw. Right. So we have the home that entails that has all these things we are seeing on my screen, on my screen right now. We've got the clipboard, the font, the alignment, numbers, then conditional formatting, the cell itself, and the quick automation, which is the editing. This is the editing aspect. That's the first part. The second part is the formula bar, the formula area, which is here. So here we can write anything we want to write in terms of anything we put inside the cell. These are cells. Each columns or each space I click here are called cells. Anything we write here, we can easily put it inside this formula bar. That's the second section. The third section is this particular interface, which is, I call it Canva, or the body of the Excel itself. This is where your data will reside, right? This is where your data will reside. And the last part is this particular area. This area where we can easily have different worksheets, right? Lest I forget. So what we've created here is called a workbook. This is what we call a workbook. So a workbook is just like an Excel file that entails that houses sheets. This place, individual pages that we have here is called worksheets. Please note that. So as time goes on, I might not be using file again. I'll be using workbook. At the same time, use whatever thing I want to use, worksheet, workbook, and the likes. So, and that is that as regards all these things. Very, very important. Please note, workbook is the entire file, the entire Excel file, whereas worksheet is a single tab on inside the workbook, within the workbook. It's a single file within the workbook. So, the next thing is just for us to understand how all these things works. So, we can either type inside this cell manually, right? I just come in here and put in numbers you want to put. For example, this is 12 here. Yeah? I can as well go to another column or another cell and type from here and input, say, Nakel. And input Nakel here. Either we work, right? Either we work. So you can either type from the formula bar or type directly inside the cell. And those things are very, very important. So what is a cell itself? A cell is just a basic unit. All these boxes are called cell, right? And imagine I just input something here. Very important, right? So I have, let me erase this. So I have like 2 columns. I have the first one is month, right? Then I have, say, sales. These are the 2 columns I have, right? So month, of course, I'm going to start with January. Then I have February. Then here, we can say we made like, say, 2.3 million naira. Made like 2.3 million naira in January. Then February, there are different ways of writing this. Because this is Excel, Excel has really helped us in making sure that it makes life easier for every one of us. So once we have some numbers that are automated, for example, days of the week, months of the year, numbers within each days. Excel understands what we are writing. And in order to save more time, right, we might not necessarily write February, right? So I can write February and say in February, assuming in February, we also made, say, 3 million naira. So we now have March, April, May. So yeah, I can just come here, place my cursor at the edge of this cell. You can see the way the cursor is before. We have the cross is sticker. Excuse me. The cross is sticker, right? Then if I place it at the edge of this particular cell, it becomes thinner. So which means before I can do anything to this thing, my cursor must become what? Thinner. This cross must become thinner. So once I do this, immediately I will just come here and drag it down. Once I drag it down, so I have my months automated. So I don't need to write whatever thing I want to write. And why is this? Why has it happened? It happens because I'm writing days of the month. Right. Another thing I can do also is to make sure maybe during March, we made the loss. The sales reduced drastically to say 1.57 million. Right. So based on all these things I have, I can use it to predict what will happen till December. Can you see? Which means we made a loss till the December. So instead of this is just like giving a rough estimate of what has happened during the course of the year, right? It's not real. We are just using this to discuss whatever we really want to discuss here tonight. Right. So there are things we've discussed about cell. So yeah, we're going to discuss about rows. Where are the rows? Rows are these numbers. Like I said, rows are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Excel has 1 million for about 1,048,000 rows. Right? How do I know that? We can just do control down. Can you see? This is the last value I have here. Let me increase it again a bit just for us to see the value. I'm sure it's bigger. Is it bigger?
Yes, it's bigger. Yeah.
What did you say?
Yeah, it's bigger. It's bigger.
Oh, so you can see the value, right? So you can see that the maximum value, the maximum rows I have here, the last row I have in Excel is 1,048,500 and something, right? 576, right? This is the last value. So which means if I have a data set that is beyond this value, Excel will not be able to treat it. This is one of the limitations of Excel. However, Excel is very good, especially for startups and even for big companies. So we are going to see how we use Excel in making sure that we get so many insights and so many information, right? So I can go back by just pressing Control Up, right? So these are rows. Can you see rows now? So what are columns? The columns are labeled A, B, C, D, E, F. These are columns. Column A, column B, column C, column D. Yeah, I have about 28,000 columns. I have about 28,000 columns. So if you really want to check it, I can just do control forward. So I'm going to have something XFD. So if you calculate your ABC, when they go to Z, they will start AA, AB, AC, AD, AE, AF. Do you understand what I'm saying? Till this particular stage, this is about 28,000 plus, right? This is about 28,000 plus. And I believe that is also a limitation to Excel. However, most of the time, I don't think we always have columns that will always be up to that particular area. But some periods, we might have some transformation where we want to convert to rows to columns to row. And that might really cause a whole lot of problem. That might cause a whole lot of problem. Another thing I'm going to teach also, I'm going to talk about is range, because these are terminologies we'll be using during the course of this class. Please, I wouldn't mind if you can write them down. I wouldn't mind if you can write them down, right? These are terminologies we'll be using during the course of this class. So we have range, right? So what do I mean by range? Range is a group of cells. So when I group cells together, I have a range. Are you getting what I'm saying? When I group cells together, I have a range. For example, I can group this to this together. This is a range. So I have a range of B2, B3 to B6, right? So for example, how do I know? How do I know that? I can just quickly show you something about the formula. So we are not there yet, but I just quickly want to show you what range means. I've grouped this. So can you see? B3 to B6. This is a range of B3 to B6. That's a range of B3 to B6, right? So it's very, very important for us to understand all these values, right? So the next thing we're going to do right now, which I think is still very, very important at this stage, is for us to know data type in cells, right? What I've been doing here, instead of going through all these things one after the other, right? I'm trying to summarize because we don't have much time, right? But of course, I'm still going to treat everything I have to treat when it comes to this ribbon, right? So, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. You've seen how we can type into each individual cells. We've seen how we can write numbers, and I've discussed cells, rows, columns, and range right now. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is data types in Excel. What do you mean by data type in Excel? What do I mean by data types?
Excuse me. Excuse me. I said the range you explained. I did not understand. I did not get it practically.
What did you say?
The range you explained now, I did not understand it. Like I did not get how you get the
Range
range.
is a group of cells. Once you understand cell, these are individual cells, right? These are individual cells. So range is a group of cells. Then how do I know it is B3 or EF, E4, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is, you can see I'm on column B, right? And row 3. So if I click on this particular cell, if I even don't know this thing, you don't need to know it. You don't need to know it. Come to this area. Once you come to this area, you will see the name box, right? The cell name, B3. And I said, if you now combine columns together, for example, I want to combine this and this together, of course, this is what we are going to get. Do you understand? So combining or joining these columns together, right, or these cells together is called a range. So don't worry. I'm just attending to this thing for the first time because I've not really given you that rule. I will want, if you have any question, please always put those questions down. And maybe after the class, you can raise. There will be a section where I'm going to ask you if is there any other questions, any other question I can ask you. So which I think is that will really work better, please. So in order not to just to save our timing and the likes. So if you have any question, please we can write them down in order not to forget and ask me after the whole class, after the whole session. Thank you. So the next thing I was talking about is data type. So what do I mean by data type? Data type is talking about, these are data. All this information I have in individual cell are called data, right? So, and I want to know its types. So we have different types of data. We have different types of data, and it's important for us to know that. So I don't think I need to use this cell. So if I'm going to use, let me use my board to discuss that. So like I said we have data type. So what do you mean by data types in Excel, right? So because we have all these things are data, because we have individual items in a different cell, we need to define those items in the cell, right? So the first one I'm going to discuss is text, a data type called text. And all these texts are what? Alphabet. They are characters from A, B, C, D, E, F. So I have Atinuke in class, so we can say Tinuke would be a text, right? But if I'm going to write a text in Excel, please note this because we are going to use this over and over and over again during the course of this course, and even in subsequent tools we'll be learning. So anytime we are writing text, please, or we are writing a character, we put them in quotes, right? In quotes. This tells the computer that we are writing a text, or we are writing a character, or we are writing a string. Those are the three different names this carries. Is either we call it a string, a text, or what? A character. So you will see how best we know. I'm sure this might be the first time you are listening or you're hearing this, but don't worry. We are still going to use it over and over and over again, and you get used to it. Don't worry. Till the end of this course, we are still going to use all these things. But I'm just introducing all these new syntax to us because I want us to get used to them as early as possible. So this is a text. We have another one. We can use Nakel, that's another one. Then every other thing that involves character is called text. Another type of data that we have is called a number data. It's called a number data. So with number, what do you mean by number? I have figures. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, different values. So it's called numbers. So another one, which I think it's important, we have a date data type. Date data type. So this gives me the date of the month, the date of the year, the date in terms of the day itself, right? But we have today is 24, right? 07/2025. This is how it's going to be like. So we have different types. We have the long date and the short date. All these I'm going to show you. So we have currency also. We have currency. This one we holds the sign of that particular currency in that country. For example, if you are working with dollar, we just say $10,000, right? This is our currency. We have another one which I think is important. This might be your first time of hearing this also. It's called Boolean. Boolean is just a logic, right? It's just like a logic that gives you a yes or no answer. Yes or no, or true or false. Yeah, I use yes or no because this might be the first time some of us are hearing Boolean. So once you know yes or no, I'm sure yes or no is one thing you know, right? So once you know it is yes, yes equals to true, and no is equals to false. So instead of now using yes or no, we'll be using true or false. So true or false statement. So any result that gives a true or false statement is called a Boolean, right? So this is data types. And where do we get these data types, right? I'm sure you must have written this. I can erase it, right? So once I erase this down, I can so where do we get all these data type from? It is here, these numbers. So all these things I've explained earlier, you can see them here. The short date, the long date, the time. We have date is for the time. Yeah, you have the dates. We have numbers. Then the text I talked about is here, right? So these are the major ones that I believe we'll be using in this particular course. So this is where we can change our data type. I've shown you the data types. So all these things are data, and we have different types, which we will see during this particular session. Another thing I think we need to tell ourselves is talking about data entry best practices. Data entry best practices. So you have the do's, which you will see how we are going to do that. So we use in data entry best practices because this thing is divided into cells, right? So the first thing we need to make use of is we use one row per data or per record. One row per record, right? One row per record. Another thing is we can also use one column per attribute. 1 column per attribute. For example, what I've just done, this is a column. A column for month, this is attributes, right? And a column for sales, this is the attributes, right? All these values, this is the attribute of this value, it's called sales value. This is the month, right? So another thing I think I did not discuss much here is this font. I think we should quickly discuss about fonts, right? You might just say, what is in font? What is in font? But there is more to fonts than what we know, right? There is more in font to what we know. So one thing I need to discuss here is talking about, we can bold, right? Because this bold, this differentiates between the description of the column and the attribute of that column. So here, if I just click on this right now, of course, what we now know that it's obvious that month is now the table head. Month is now the table head, and January to December is the description of that table head. Very important, right? Another thing is we can also bold this place. So we can now see the difference why we need to bold if it is necessary for us to use bold. All right. So the next is talking about the font types. Font types, all these font types that you see here, right? They are divided into two major types. We have the serif and the sans serif. Let's just quickly discuss that. Fonts that generally are divided into two parts. Serif, right? And the sans serif. These are Italian language, right? This is Italian, yeah. So serif, all the fonts you are going to see or you've been seeing are divided into two major types. We have the serif fonts and the sans serif fonts. So what are serif fonts? Serif fonts are fonts with edges. Fonts that has sharp edges, right? For example, Times New Roman, that's the latest example I can give. Go and check all the text that you have. Is either they have edges or they don't have edges, right? So the ones that have edges are called serif fonts, right? And they are font that has edges. So let me give an example. An example is what? Times New Roman. Oh, sorry. I need to move away from here for me to be able to get this done. Times New Roman. If I type Times New Roman here, you will see. Let me increase the fonts. If I increase the fonts, you will observe that this has edges. This is a serif type of font, right? The second one, which is sans serif, a very good example is Calibri. That's the only example I can quickly bring here. Go and check every other ones that we have. Go and check every other ones that we have. It's called Calibri. This is Calibri. Yes, this is Calibri. I don't need to change it any longer. So if I increase this font, you will see the difference. Can you see the difference? Sans serif means no serif, no edges, right? No edges or false edges. Do you understand? So that's the meaning of these two things. And they have meanings when it comes to designs. So if I'm writing with a sans serif, it means I'm formal. So that's why you always see all the design on billboards, right? In a formal settings. All designs in a formal settings in billboard that want to advertise products, that want to advertise information, that want to advertise information, that want to also advertise about your company to the formal people. You observe that the type of font they might not necessarily use Calibri, but the type of font they will use, go and check, will be sans serif, because they want to appeal to people, to the elites, to the serious minds, right? So if you want to use sans serif, you use sans serif for informal things. For example, party. For example, go and check if they are doing all these informal things. They use sans serif to do all these things. And you observe that, oh, this is the only way we can differentiate between a serif and sans serif. It speaks a whole lot. And you can also criticize designs based on all these things that you have. You can see that we are doing data analytics right now. We are talking about design. And why do we need this design? Because we are going to work on dashboard. And we are going to be the one to design the dashboard ourselves. Because we are going to work on dashboard and we'll be the one to design those. All these things are very, very important, which I think we need to like take notes. Please take note of this. It's important, right? So it will be necessary and it will be very good for you. Might not be here, but of course in some other area. And these are ways we can easily do things. Like I said, the do's and don'ts of best practices in data entry, it's very, very important. I've given you two. And we should also keep all these in the first rows. You know, these are first row. And what I've just done here is basically wrong. I should come here and place this thing here. So your table head should always be in the first row. So that will really help us to making sure to know that, oh, this is our table head and we can easily do whatever thing we want to do to it. So next is trying to format our data. How do we format data here? It's very important. How do we format data here? So formatting data really helps us to make our data readable, right? If you really want people to be able to read your data, right, formatting it is very, very important. So you have different types of formats, which I'm going to introduce us to. So the first one is to make sure that we format the data type, right? We format the data type, right? Very, very important. So another thing is, so in terms of the numbers, we make sure that we really want numbers to be in currency or in number itself. So if it is in number, because we know this row is for numbers, I will just come here and change this from general to number. So if I change it to number, you can see the difference. I now have decimal point. At the same time, I can do some calculations to it and it will bring my result. Another thing I can do is I can increase the decimal point. How do I increase the decimal point? I come here, can you see it has increased from 2 to 3? Let me do this. Let me just click on this again. So we can see we've increased it to 4. Can you see? Then if I want to reduce or remove all the decimal places, I come here and I tap this. Before you know it, I'm back to normal. At the same time, I've changed the format from general to number. This one also, I can change this from general to text. Right? And that's all. And these are ways to format your data set. Another thing we can also do is highlighting. So we want to automatically highlight your cells based on rules. So instead of checking what really happened in December, because this is a sales chart, a sales table, right? For months and the sales made during each month. And I want to know what has happened or what is happening in this particular company. Even without knowing or without seeing the figure, I should be able to understand and see what is happening afar. And this is where conditional formatting comes into play, right? So if I come here and I come to styles, right? In this particular style, there are different ways we can do our things. So we can easily come here and click on conditional formatting. So we have different types of rules. So I'm just going to give you like 111. Then we'll play around every other ones. So I'm going to show me highlight cells rules and show greater than. So I'm giving a rule. So if highlight cells that are greater than 820,000. Highlight cells that are greater than 820,000. And I can use from red to blue. I can change this red, right, to say gray. And I click on OK. So you can see, right, that cells that are greater than 820,000 has been highlighted. Another thing we can do to this thing is we can also add comma. If you add comma to it, it becomes normal. It becomes cool, and we can reduce this again to normal. So we can easily check what is happening here. right? So we can see that I've given a rule that highlight only cells that are greater than 820,000, and that is why it has highlighted this. Every other ones are wrong. So I can see from afar. So something is wrong somewhere, right? Even without knowing what has happened or what we have as in the value that we've got there. Very important, right? Another thing we can also do is we've done the highlight of greater than, we can do less than, we can do in between lines, right? So what I'm going to do, in order not to waste much of our time because we've got so many things to cover, is we can come here and play around every other thing we have here. So we go to the next one, talking about bottom top rules. So I want you to show me highlight top 10 values. Top 10 values. So it's top 10 that is showing me. So I want to change it to say 5, top 5 values or top 6 values. And I'm going to use, say, red text or red border. Different rules I can use. Can you see? But all these, I don't use them. I'm just trying to show you all this. You can also come around and play around these things. Very important, right? So here, which I think I use a whole lot, is not this, basically, but I'm going to show you how this also works. So this is talking about gradient fill. So in terms of, okay, I'm going to use a gradient fill to show what we have here. So this is very, very important. So most times, because you are using a colored gradient fill, it's showing me that, okay, my field is going to be as full as anything. So the highest value here is going to be 3 million naira. So it's not going to be dividing, then the mathematics is going to be done by Excel itself. It's not going to be dividing by what we have. So once we have a positive answer, a positive, we have blue, right? Once you have a negative, you have red. If you come here again, solid fill, this is gradient fill. This makes more sense to me, right? But I don't use this also. But afar, I can easily see what is happening. I might not really understand or even see the amount we've made as in sales. But once I see red, I'll know there is a danger. What is happening in that red? What happened in December? I can see red in December. What is happening? So I can easily call my manager on the spot. Right? So what happened? Give me a detailed overview of what happened in so place in December. What happened? So that is when I will now start seeing values. Oh, so we made a loss of 1.3 million. I could not talk. But it was the red that attracted me to this particular thing. Then there is a big one that which I think we can also use, which makes more sense to me, which is using the traffic light or traffic rule to determine what we have. You know, in our primary school or secondary school days, we know red says stop, yellow say ready, green say go. Yeah, but here, as in terms of the business aspect, we know green is saying yes, we are making profit. You're on a good line. Everything is perfect. We know yellow is trying to say you are either improving or you are declining, depending on where you are coming from, right? And red means what? Danger. You are doing badly. That is meaning, right? That is the meaning. It means you are doing badly. So how do we get to know that? Is come here, use this color scale, and we use the traffic light rule to work these things out. So with this traffic light rule, you will see that, oh, we have green, we have light green. You know, can you see the way it's going? From afar, we can easily get these things done and everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. The red we had earlier, we can easily get. And I can, so the way I do my things also, if I'm using conditional formatting of cell, right, I can add to it by using icons. So I come to these icon settings and I just come and click here. So this is showing me, oh, red, green is up. This is coming down. This is coming down, which means you are declining until we get to the deep red aspect, right? So we can come around, play around all these things. Please play around it. And the essence of you having all this is to play around, make mistakes. Don't worry, make mistakes. It's a normal thing for us to make mistakes, and I believe we would understand it better when we make mistake very well. When we make mistake, we understand all these things better, and I'm sure of that. That is very certain. That is very, very certain. So, we've been able to work around this. I'm not going to talk about this because everything we need here can be done with just a right click. Once you right click, we can insert, we can delete, we can clear content, you know, we can get so many other things here. Then, yeah, I think we talk about formatting table. So in terms of, I have this particular table, then I can just highlight everything, come this format table and pick maybe different colors that you want to pick, right? By converting this to just a table, it gives you different colors and every other thing you want to. Once you just click on OK, you will see that we have those things done. But this is not what we are trying to do right now. We can also format our cell. Can you see? Can you see the way we are formatting it? Can also format individual cells. Can do so many things to our class. So many things. Right? So these are things that I believe we might not be using, but we can also come around, play around all these things and see how Excel can easily make your work look better. So this is talking about aesthetics of Excel, not the function of Excel itself. We're just talking about the aesthetics of Excel itself, how we can make our work, the normal thing that we normally do on Excel, how we can make it more beautiful, how we can make it more user interactive. We want people to interact with our work easier, more than what we are used to, right? So all these things are very, very important, right? So this is styles. We've talked about numbers. Then in terms of alignment also, I think this is also very important. So if I'm going to, for example, I just really want to explain these two things for us, wrap text and merge and center, right? For wrap text is talking about assuming I want to write Nakelgreen. Nakelgreen Limited. This is Nakelgreen Limited. And Nakelgreen Limited is written in box F1. Can you see it here? F1, right? And if I'm in F1 and I'm writing, for example, if I now go to G1 and I type, for example, say data analytics, you can see that the Nakelgreen that we had earlier will have gone. Analytics. And that's a very big problem. The only thing I can see is Nakelgreen. So you want to tell me, oh, yeah, we can easily extend this, right? By expanding this just like this. We can do that. Fine, it's good. True, we can do that. But I don't want to do that. So what I can do is I can merge two cells together. Or, okay, I'm not talking about merge. Let me use wrap test. I can just wrap this same thing in one column, right? I will wrap it in one column in such a way that Nakelgreen will be shown in F column and it's going to squeeze itself in that particular area. And this is what I will just come here, click on that cell, and come and click on wrap test. So once I click on wrap test, you can see what I have here now. Nakelgreen can now show in F column without extending to G column, right? So that is about wrap test. For merge and center, is something like this. So I have data analytics that has expand to H, right? And I don't want to wrap the test. I can easily join these two columns together or two cells together. So most times you use this for maybe you want to write a topic. You're talking about a topic, say dashboard, sales dashboard for Atinuke, blah, 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 stores. No, that would be very long, right? And instead of you can't wrap it in a column, it's not possible. The only thing you can do is to join cells together. So once I join G and H together, just the way I've joined it, I will just come and do merge and center. Once I merge and center, everything becomes normal. So it doesn't my text does not go to the next column again because I know what I've written does not extend, does not exceed the space I've given it. Right? So this is down, right? The position here is down. Can you see bottom align? And it is center. If I want to place it at the center, what I will just come and do is just to click here. Can you see? Then I can make it bold. I can even increase the font size. Can you see? Because the size has extended now, we are not seeing it again. So let me just stop here. As regards all these things, very, very important, right? So I said I'm not going to talk about this because we can easily do them with just a right click, right? So we can insert column, we can delete column, we can format column. Here is editing. Very important. So sometimes we are still going to talk about function. Our next class, we'll talk about functions more. We're going to talk about functions more. That will be the next thing we'll be talking about. Not too long. So, but yeah, if before we go to functions, formulas itself, we can easily do some quick arithmetics. So this is why we have the auto sum here. This auto sum talks about the summation, the average, the count number, the maximum number, and the minimum number, right? So here, instead of doing all these things calculations, so I really want to know the amount of money we've made, right? As in sales, generally, what I will just do is just to highlight everything I have here, then come here and do and click on this summation. So this gives me the total number of money we have made. So we made like 7 million naira. 7.7 million naira. That's the amount we've made. Simple and straightforward. So this is the amount we've made, 7.7 million naira. I can also count the numbers of cells that we have here by just coming here and do count number. It is 12, you can see. What is the maximum value we have here? I will just come here and click here. All these things are things that we are going to discuss at length, right? We're going to discuss all these things at length, right? But I'm just trying to show you how this works. This is just simple arithmetic, right? Excel is far, far more than this, right? Excel is far, far more than this, right? So here is filling up. So we want to fill up, we want to fill down, fill right, fill left, fill center. So if you want to fill whatever thing you want to fill, for example, I have this particular 2.3 and I want to fill it down. So we can do that, right? You can see what I've just done right the other time. If I want to fill to the right, I can do it. Fill to the up, fill up, maybe from the ground, fill to the left. Then we want to justify, or we want to do a flash fill. Please work with this, right? Try and work with everything that we are doing here. Please try and work with it. Play around all these things, and that's why you will learn more. What we'll be learning, we'll be teaching ourselves is what that will be useful for us as a data analyst, right? Yours is just to go there, work with it very well, play around these things, and own this particular app. And that's the way we normally teach our students. We tell our students, own this app yourself, right? Own it. Sometimes, I'm sure if you are working with this Excel for the first time, there are so many things you might not be seeing here. For example, you might not have a developer, maybe perhaps review, right? You might not have all these things, right? So, but how do you make these things there? How do you put this thing there? It's simple. Just come here, go to File, Options, right? You can see File, Options. This dialog box pops up, right? And we come to Customize Ribbon. Once you click on Customize Ribbon, then you come to this place. You have a main tab. If main tab is not showing, click on this tab, right? And click on main tab. So once you have main tab, you will see that everything that is showing here is here. I have home, I have insert, I have draw. Yours might not have draw because it might not be here. If it is not here, then leave it. Do you get? If it's not here, then leave it. You have page layout, you have formulas, you have data, we have review. Yours, your
Excuse,
developer might not be checked, so you can check it now. So
Yeah, sir,
developer
I
will
said
not show you
after.
here. Yours might not be checked, so you can check it now. So once you check it, so once you check your developer, right, and we can just come here and just do okay. Once you okay it, everything will show here. So, and that is how to own it. Another thing we can do is I want to change from this color that is white to another color. As a developer, you know me, I'm a developer. I do web development and the likes. I love working with black screen. And I have my reasons for working with black screens because the light will be dimmed. It's not going to affect my eyes a whole lot because I stare, as a developer, you have to be looking at the system almost every moment, right? And that would also affect your eyeball, affect so many things about yourself. In order to reduce those things, and that's why you see most developer they work with black screen, not because they like it. Yeah, we've trained ourselves to like it. Some people don't like it at all. Especially if you are not working, if you are not a developer, once you see a black screen, it pisses you off, right? And it's not because of that. Medically is good, earth-wise very good, and that's why we are there, right? But most people will still prefer to work with white screen. It's good. I'm not saying we should change our mind. I'm just trying to tell you that me as a developer, I can just change this from white to black. Can you see it now? It means I can own my system. I own this app. And that is how you should also work. So if there are issues with this particular app, I don't need to uninstall and reinstall a new one. I would fix it up myself because I know where to go, especially these options. That is where you need to go. This place, this is where you need to go. So I'm going to change this maybe to dark gray. Let's see. Dark gray, still better, right? And many of us might not really like what you are seeing on the screen. So maybe let me go back, let me take it back to white or make it colorful. So I think this is better, right? So we can do so many things. Go back to options. You can see that we can do so many things as in the data, as in the general thing, as in the font size. The font size that you always seen is 11. That's will I say the default font size. You can increase the default font size from 11 to 12. You can increase the font type. You can change the font type. You can do this. I can change my name. It's showing user. I don't want to use user. I want to use Nakelgreen. So anytime I work and I save my work, I think I want it to be showing Nakelgreen, not the name of my computer. You can change it. Shikena. So once I save this my work, it will show that the originator is Nakelgreen. So these are things I believe we should work with also, right? And play around all these things I've shown you, and I believe you get it better. So this is all about the O. And let's quickly go to insert. For these inserts, we have the pivot table. Pivot table just summarizes complex data. So we are going to use all this as a data analyst, right? We will be working mostly with pivot table. And I'm going to show you why it is very, very important. When we get there, don't worry. When we get to that aspect, I'm going to show you, and you will love it. You won't even do anything as a data analyst. You won't do anything without using a pivot table because it makes your work easier. Right now, it might be so, you might not really understand it, but don't worry. When you get to that aspect, it is very, very easy. What it does basically is it converts a complex table, a complex data set to a simpler one. So it converts all the data set that I have. I have like 20 columns. I have like 500 rows, 500 rows, 1,000 rows, or even 500,000 rows. What it does is it converts those three things, the column and the row, it converts them to a column where we can now start doing our analysis easily compared to just trying to copy and paste individually. So pivot table is just like a game changer for everybody. So we have the illustrations here where we have pictures. So which means we can also insert pictures in Excel. That's the way we normally do in Microsoft Word. If you are used to Microsoft Word, we can insert pictures in Excel. We can do so many things in Excel. And this will also be very useful when we are designing our dashboard. because we work mostly with shapes, we work with pictures, we work with icons. We might not really work with smart art, but shapes and pictures, very, very important. We're going to do that. Add-ins are just like plugins for Excel. So I'm not going to talk about this because we don't need it. So this is also very important. Charts. Chart in Excel is also, this is where we are going to represent all our findings to a layman, right? To a layman, for example, I can just do this and just click on bar chart, right? My stakeholders or a layman might not really understand what we have here. But with this chart now, I can always tell them, okay, in February, we made 3 million naira. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we can see that's the highest points. We made the highest sales in February. Every other month, we declined. So which means there is a fundamental issue that happens after February. So something must have happened after February. So these are things that we want to discuss. And these are things that I gathered and I will show you during the course of our discussion. Can you see? This shows everything that we are talking about. With just picture, with a chart, it explains everything better than what we have here. So, and that's the function of your chart. That's the function of the chart. Can you see how chart works, right? So here we have a 3D map. We are not going to work with this. Yeah, we have spark lines. So spark lines is trying to do charts in between cells. So when we have charts in between cells, right? So we use spark lines. For example, assuming I have like 2 or say 4 million naira here. Yeah? So I can do spark lines and do lines. I want to put it in this location, right? I can change from that to column. You can see the different size. So it's also trying to change sales, trying to say charts in columns, right? We're trying to show charts in columns, which I think is also very important. Sometimes we need it to discuss some things very, very important, right? So that's how spark lines work. So we talked about spark lines. Then we have slicers. Slicers are also we use slicers in filtering data. These are things we are going to use more in dashboard. So we are going to use all these things in dashboard. You have linking your text or linking this text to a website. So once they click it, direct them to a website. We can use this. Then text. This is also very, very good. Right? So for example, I have this data analytics that I've written here. Even my analytics is I misspelled it. I have this, so I can change the text using some designs. Can do data analytics. Can you see? Using designs. So I can come here. You can change the text from that to this. Can you see? Different designs, right? And that's how the insert also works. So we have equations and form symbols, which we are not going to be using. Yeah, we are not going to be using. So let me quickly go to here in drawing. You might not have this. So I might not really, it's not everybody that will be using this. So I might not really be working with this because your system might not have this. But using 2016 or 2019, you might not have draw. So what it means is, if I come here, I can draw with it. You can see, I can write with it. I can do whatever thing I want to do with it. And ink replay, and you can play it. Can you see? You can play, it's recording the way you are doing your things, and you can replay whatever thing you've done there. So we have page layout that describes about your page, describes this page very well. So are you working in terms of the margin, in terms of orientation? Is it going to be landscape or portrait or the size? But as a data analyst, we are not really bound with all this. What we are going to be using more is for us to see how best we can work with this arrangement method, especially when we are building our dashboard, right? So when we are building our dashboard, we are going to fall back to this place, and we are going to be using especially here. So which you are going to see how best you can do that. I'm going to show us everything. And yeah, so I'm going to leave this for now, skip this formula. This formula entails, this is what Excel is made up of. But I'm going to skip this right now, and I'm going to come back with this after I might have done every other ribbon. Here is the data. The data aspect is where we'll be using most times as a data analyst, right? So here we have the get and transform data. Here we are going to introduce ourselves to another tool that is an inbuilt plugin for Excel, right? It's an inbuilt plugin for Excel that is, we use that for data cleaning also. We're going to introduce us to that, and that will be after I might have been using a manual data cleaning. We're going to do a manual data cleaning. Then we're going to introduce us to how to passing our data cleaning process using that tool. That tool is called Power Query Editor. So this is where we're going to get it, introduce ourselves to it. And you can see we have query and connections. Yeah, it's because of that particular Power Query Editor. It's a game changer, a big game changer for Excel, right? In Excel. And yeah, it also occurs in Power BI also. All right. So we have sort and filter. So for example, this sort and filter is very important. So here as the data head or a table head, I want to filter and see if there is no issue or there is no mistake, or we don't have duplicates here easily because it's not much, right? And I just want to check if there is no duplicate. I can just come here and do filter. Once I do filter, once you click on filter, go to data, click on filter, we have this arrow button that pops up. Right? So we can use this to check what we have, distinct values that we have here. Can you see? I've got blanks. Where is the blank? Where am I seeing blanks? It's obvious. So the blank is for this place, these two things. Right? These two or three things are here. It's for blanks. So you check here. If I check here, I might not get blank here. Can you see there's no blank here? It's obvious. Very, very obvious, right? So these are things that we can easily use to check and quickly inspect our column, right? Here is, we have text to columns. So sometimes I want to split my text into different columns. For example, I have a full name in a cell. I know I have Akinola Sodiq, right? And I was told that this Akinola Sodiq is a full name. So we have names like that. I want to split those names to last name and first name. So I can easily say, okay, if this is full name, I want to split it to last name and surname. So what I will just do is come to data and do text to column. So when I do text to column, so the first thing that pops up is the delimiters, right? Delimiters is trying to separate characters, what's it called? Separate compound words with character. So we have the space bar, comma, parentheses, exclamation mark, any other sign that you want to put, right? So I'm going to do fix with delimiter, right? It's going to be delimited, or there are delimiter sort of. So I click on next. My next is going to be based on tab, which is space. If I do click on space, can you see? Space. So which means for every space, I'm going to split my column because it's space. You know, it's a space that is in between Akiola and Sodiq. We are together, right? So once I just click on this, then I click on finish, automatically, Sadiq will automatically leave the first row. So imagine I now have like over 500,000 rows. Will I be splitting them one after the other? No. What I will just do is highlight the entire column and go to this text to column, and I will do the same thing to it, and boom, I'm done. So I'll be done in less than a minute, and I'm going to edit the entire 500,000 rows. Can you see now? The next thing I will just do is change that full name. If this place is full name, change that full name to, this will be the last name, right? And this will be the first name. And I'm done with that work, even without a blink. Can you see? I'm done with the work, even without a blink. And that is the essence. That thanks to this particular tool. Another thing is, which I think as a data analyst we use a whole lot of time, is remove duplicates. You know, in a data set, we might have duplicates in such a way that, assuming you're not the only one working with on that particular data set, you're not the one that entered the data. You're not the one that entered the data entry process. You were not involved, or even you were involved and you gave it out to so many other people to help you work with, right? And you were joining them, and some people might have repeated a certain role twice or thrice. So how do you remove those duplicates? Will you be looking for it? Assuming you have like 100,000 rows, you'll be looking for it one after the other? No. Computer can help you do that. Scan through those rows and check if they are the same, if they are duplicates. Once they are duplicate, it keeps one and remove the rest. It keeps one and remove the rest. And how does it do that? Imagine I have Akinola Sadiq, I have Atinuke. Yeah. So if I want to remove duplicates, what I will just do is just come here, highlight this, come here, remove duplicates. Z on column H and column I, yes. Then I will just click on this. So what do we have? To observe 3, and she removes 1. So it's all we have 2 Akinola Sadiq, and she keeps 1 and remove 1. So we can see there is more to this thing compared to what we have. So we can also use forecast. Forecasting is just like, you remember predictive data analysis. That I want to forecast what will happen in the future, right? We can also forecast figures. We can forecast values. Very, very important. And this is where all this works into play. We can also group our statements or our designs or our boxes, group them together, ungroup them, then we can easily work with them. Review is just like reviewing our worksheets. So most of the time, what I teach here is how do we protect your worksheet and your workbook, right? Sometimes you might be working in a place where you are working, your system is for general usage. However, under your machine, we have some confidential material. And you don't have a choice other than to share your machine with other people, right? You can lock your workbook by click on this protect, but don't forget it is an irreversible process. Once you forget your password, forget it, you can't gain entrance with it again. You will only destroy it. Once you forget your password, forget it. You won't be able to access the file again. That's why it is better for you not to protect it and protect your laptop or machine. Make sure your machine is for you and you alone. If you know you have some confidential material, but if you know you can't forget your password or you can't misplace the password, yes, it's possible. Which means even if you remove the file from your laptop, from your machine, and you want to access it on another machine, you have to put in that password before you can be able to access it. So it's not limited to your machine alone, it's limited to all machines. Right? When I mean machine, I mean your PC. You might be using Mac, you might be using Windows, you might be using another thing, but it will also require you to put a password. So you can see that Excel is just beyond typing computing, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, right? It's beyond that. We can use it to do so many, which we are still going to see those things when we start working with formulas, right? So with views, view talks about how we really want to show this. Then sometimes all these things that we are seeing comes from views, right? So for example, the grid lines that we have, you can see once I uncheck the grid lines, everything becomes on, but I still have the cells. You can see the cell, but the grid lines are really helped us to see, okay, so this is where the line starts. So in the real sense, these grid lines will not show on your A4 paper in real sense. If you want those lines to show, there are some things you are going to do. So sometimes, and before we go there, sometimes this particular formula bar might disappear, right? We might have something like this. What you just need to do is go to view, then check your formula bar. Everything becomes normal. So like I said, what I was saying earlier, that these things will not show. So let me use this one. These things will not show on your book if you are printing out. If you want it to show the lines, you go back to home, then you come to this particular place and pick any other borderline. So we can pick all borderlines. So once I pick all borderlines, you can see the thickness is there compared to what we have here. So this is how this will show, and this is how you can do that to show it. So for the developer, we talk about macros here. Macros is just a way of writing your own formula and recording it. You have your own things or way of writing your program itself and recording it. But our course is beyond that. So we are not going to reach there. We are not going to teach that. We are not going to teach that, right? Right? But I am just trying to expose you to all these things right now, just for you to know that, oh, Excel is beyond what we used to know about Excel. We can do lots more with Excel. And these are things we are going to discuss about. It's almost 10, and our next class, God willing, we are going to start with formulas. Intentionally skip formulas because formula has about more than 400 functions and formulas to discuss with. But we are going to pick on the major ones that we are going to be using as a data analyst, but we are still going to discuss at least vast majority of it, and we'll enjoy it. And yes, and that's why formula is a topic on its own, a very big, robust topic on its own. That's how we had to place it side by side, treat that separately compared to every other ones. Thank you. Do you have any questions so far? Any question, please?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. I can
Well
hear
done,
you.
sir.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask about the the Excel. Is it only the people that can work, or we can use? Hello?
Is it only what?
Is it only the paid software that can work, or we can use any other all these one that the engineer used to install
Yeah, you
for us
can
on
use
the
the one
laptop,
engineer used to,
or is it advisable to use the
you can
paid
use the one engineer has installed for you now. Once you don't
to
have
install?
issues, eh? You can use the one engineer installed for you now. Once you don't have issues in
Okay, I'm with you, sir.
once you don't have issues
Okay.
opening it, yeah, you can use the one engineer installed for you.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank
Do you
you.
have issues with your own Excel?
All right, thank you, sir.
Do you have issue with your Excel? Okay, no problem.
No,
Any
no,
other
no,
question?
no, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, sir. During your what's it called? The class, I think at the data section, I found out I found out that there is this analysis on your data this thing. But how can we activate that?
Say what if analysis, right? This one. Is this?
Let me see.
Yeah?
Under under the data section,
Yeah. Is it this one? What if analysis? Is this what you're talking about?
that one. No, the last section there.
Okay, this
Data
one, data
analysis.
analysis, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. For this data analysis, basically we were talking about more advanced model in.
What I mean, how do you
Can you hear me?
activate it?
Can you hear me? Can you hear
I,
me?
yeah, I can hear you. Like, my question is, how do you activate it on the system? It's not like, I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Activating
Hello?
it is a function. Well, yeah, okay. Activating it is a function of trying as much as possible to understand what you really want to do. So if you don't understand statistical methodology, statistical method generally, this place is no go area for you because these are how will I put it now? These are statistical models. Yeah, these are statistical models that are used in analyzing some work. Do you understand what I'm saying? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I understand,
Yeah,
sir.
haha. So for you to be activating this, so you must be very vast in working with statistical models because we can see Fourier analysis, we can see correlation, regression, t-test, f-test, ANOVA, two-factor replication, and the likes. If you don't understand all these things, so there is no point coming down here. These are t-test samples, right? These are advanced models in which we can easily use in some statistical methodology, basic, and we use this for forecasting most of the time. We use this for forecasting, for predictive data analysis most of the time. Activating it, it's very easy, very, very easy in activating it. But with the little samples, data samples we have here, I don't think we can easily work with it. So once you do this, so what happens is, for example, I want to use Fourier analysis. When I click on OK, I get for the input range, right? Assuming this is the range I've used, and I click on OK, what it will give me, it will show me to go to another place and entirely and tell me the result I'm looking for. Can you see? It's saying the numbers I have here must be of a power of 2. Like I said, the data I have here cannot really work or do all these things, right? So the data I have here cannot do everything, all these things that we have there. All right. So what it does is, if I click on that data analysis and I'm looking for the type of model I'm looking for, I click on it because I already have the data. I know the type of data I need to get that thing done. Right. Once I when I have the data, what it does for me is it does the calculations for me entirely in an entire, maybe a new sheet or in a place on the same sheet. So I can easily check for standard deviation, check for this, check for that, and I can, based on those results, I can use that to develop some other things entirely on my own. But with the type of data I have on my screen, those things will not be able to work. But activating it is very simple. Very, very simple. Any other question, please? Okay. In view of no other one, we can call it a day and enjoy and have a wonderful night rest. Thank you very much.